What if I told you that you do not need to spend hours memorizing English words every day to become a better English speaker? What if the real problem is not that you are studying too little? What if you are studying English in a way that makes your brain work too hard? You open a vocabulary book. You memorize 20 new words. You study grammar rules. You take notes. You complete exercises. And then, when someone speaks to you in English, you suddenly forget everything. You know the words. You understand the grammar. You have studied English for months or even years. But when it is time to speak, your mind becomes completely empty. If this sounds familiar, you are not alone. Many English learners believe that becoming fluent means studying more vocabulary, more grammar, more exercises, more difficult books, more complicated lessons. But fluency does not come only from studying English. Fluency comes from experiencing English again and again until your brain begins to recognize it naturally. That is the difference between studying English and absorbing English. When you study English, you often think about English. When you absorb English, you start living with English. And that small change can completely change the way you learn. Think about your first language. You probably did not memorize thousands of grammar rules before you could speak it. You heard people talking. You listened to conversations. You watched people. You repeated sounds. You connected words with situations. You made mistakes. You listened again. And slowly your brain built a system. You began to understand without translating every sentence. English can work the same way. You need to give your brain enough meaningful English to absorb. So today I want to show you how to stop treating English like a school subject and start making it part of your everyday life. The first step is simple. Stop trying to understand every single word. This is one of the biggest mistakes English learners make. Imagine you are watching an English video. You hear a sentence and there is one word you do not know. You stop the video, you search for the word. You write down the meaning, you listen again, you check the pronunciation. Then you continue. A few seconds later, you hear another unfamiliar word. You stop again. After 10 minutes, you have spent more time studying individual words than actually experiencing English. Your brain becomes tired. Instead, try something different. Listen for the meaning of the whole sentence. You do not need to understand every word. If you understand the general idea, you are already learning. For example, someone says, "I was exhausted after work, so I just went home and crashed on the couch." Maybe you do not know the word exhausted. Maybe you do not know crashed in this context. But you understand the situation. The person was very tired. They went home. They relaxed on the couch. That is enough. Your brain has received meaning. When you hear those expressions again, your brain becomes more familiar with them. This is how absorption works. The second step is to choose English that you actually enjoy. If you hate the material you are listening to, your brain will not stay interested. You do not have to listen to a complicated English lecture for 1 hour. You can listen to something you genuinely enjoy. Cooking, travel, movies, sports, business, fitness, music, stories, technology, daily life. Choose something that makes you want to keep listening. Because when you're interested in the message, you naturally pay attention to the language. You are not thinking, "I need to study English." You are thinking, I want to know what happens next. That difference is powerful. You can learn English while doing something you already enjoy. The third step is repetition. Many learners think repetition is boring, but repetition is one of the most powerful tools for language learning. Imagine you hear a useful expression once. Your brain notices it. Then you hear it again tomorrow. Your brain recognizes it. Then you hear it again next week. Now it starts to feel familiar. Eventually you hear it and understand it immediately. You did not sit down and memorize it for hours. You absorbed it through repeated exposure. That is why watching the same movie more than once can be incredibly useful. The first time you watch it, you focus on the story. The second time, you notice more English. The third time, certain expressions begin to sound familiar. You may suddenly realize, oh, I have heard people say that before. This is how English begins to move from your memory into your natural understanding. The fourth step is to listen every day. You do not need 3 hours. You need consistency. 10 minutes every day can be more useful than 2 hours once a week. If those 10 minutes become a habit, listen while you're walking. Listen while you're cooking. Listen while you're cleaning. Listen while you're exercising. Listen while you're traveling. Listen before you sleep. Your goal is to create small moments where English enters your day naturally. Think of it like sunlight. You do not need to stand under the sun for 10 hours once a month. Regular exposure matters. English works the same way. Small daily exposure can slowly change your brain. The fifth step is to stop translating everything. When you hear English, try to connect the English directly to the meaning. If you hear the word apple, do not think. English word, then translate it into your native language, then understand the meaning. Instead, imagine an apple. English, apple, image, meaning. That direct connection becomes faster with practice. The same thing happens with sentences. Instead of translating "I am hungry" into your native language, try to understand the feeling directly. I am hungry. Your brain connects the English sentence with the situation. This is how you begin to think in English more naturally. The sixth step is to speak what you hear. Absorbing English does not mean becoming completely passive. Your brain needs opportunities to use what it receives. You can repeat sentences from videos. You can copy the speaker's rhythm. You can repeat short phrases while walking. You can talk to yourself. For example, I am making coffee. I need to go outside. It is raining today. I have to finish this work. I am feeling tired. These sentences may seem extremely simple, but simple English used repeatedly becomes automatic English. You do not need to create complicated sentences every time. Your goal is to make useful English come out without thinking too much. The seventh step is to learn phrases instead of isolated words. Instead of memorizing the word decision, learn make a decision. Instead of only learning interested, learn I am interested in. Instead of only learning, agree, learn I completely agree with you. Why? Because real conversations are made from combinations of words. Native speakers do not build every sentence from individual vocabulary words. They use familiar phrases and patterns. When you learn those patterns, you can speak faster. For example, can you give me a minute? Let me think about it. I am not sure about that. That sounds interesting. What do you mean? It depends. I have no idea. That makes sense. These expressions are incredibly useful, and the more often you hear them, the easier they become to use. The 8th step is to make English part of your environment. Change small things around you. Put English subtitles on videos. Follow English-speaking creators. Listen to English podcasts. Set some of your devices to English if you're comfortable doing so. Read short English posts. Write small notes in English. Think about what you're doing in English. You do not need to transform your entire life overnight. Just create more opportunities for English to appear naturally. The more English your brain sees and hears, the less strange English feels. And that matters, because sometimes the biggest problem is not knowledge, it is familiarity. English feels unfamiliar. The sounds feel fast, the expressions feel strange, the rhythm feels different. But after enough exposure, those sounds become normal. The 9th step is to stop being afraid of easy English. Some learners believe they must always learn advanced vocabulary. They want sophisticated words because they think difficult English sounds intelligent. But communication is not about using the most complicated words. It is about expressing your ideas clearly. A fluent speaker can explain a complicated idea using simple language. You do not need to say, "I am experiencing considerable exhaustion." You can simply say, "I am really tired." You do not need to use a complicated word when a natural, simple phrase works better. Your goal is not to impress people with vocabulary. Your goal is to communicate. The 10th step is patience. This may be the most important lesson of all. You will not absorb English in 3 days. You will not suddenly wake up one morning speaking perfect English. Language learning happens quietly. At first you may not notice any change. You listen, you repeat, you watch, you speak, you make mistakes, you continue. Then one day you understand a sentence without translating it. Another day you answer someone faster. Another day you hear an expression in a movie and understand exactly what it means. These small moments are signs that your brain is changing. Do not underestimate them. Progress in English is often invisible before it becomes obvious. So instead of asking yourself, "How many words did I memorize today?" ask, "How much English did I experience today?" Instead of asking, "How many grammar exercises did I complete?" ask, "How many English sentences did I hear and understand?" Instead of asking, "Did I study for 2 hours?" ask, "Did I give my brain meaningful English today?" This is a completely different mindset. You are no longer trying to force English into your memory. You are creating an environment where English can naturally stay in your mind. And remember, you do not have to stop studying completely. Grammar is useful. Vocabulary is useful, writing exercises are useful, lessons are useful, but they should not be your entire English life. Use study to understand, then use real English to absorb. Study a phrase, then hear it in a conversation. Learn a word, then notice it in a video. Understand a grammar pattern, then listen for it in real speech. That is where knowledge starts becoming ability. So starting today, try this simple routine. Spend 10 minutes listening to English you enjoy. Do not stop every few seconds. Do not translate everything. Focus on the meaning. Choose 2 or 3 useful phrases, repeat them out loud, then use one of them during your day. That is it. You do not need a perfect study schedule. You need a relationship with English. Let English follow you through your day. Listen to it, notice it, repeat it, use it, enjoy it, and slowly your brain will begin to recognize English without so much effort. The goal is not to spend your whole life studying English. The goal is to reach the point where English becomes something you naturally use. So stop thinking, I need to study more English. Start thinking, how can I experience more English today? Because when English becomes part of your daily life, learning becomes easier. Speaking becomes more natural, listening becomes faster, and confidence begins to grow. You do not need to study harder. You need to absorb smarter. Thank you for watching. If this video helps you see English learning differently, subscribe to the channel and keep learning with us. Remember, do not just study English. Live with it, listen to it, use it, and let your brain absorb it.